Welcome to the Marketing for the Culture podcast, powered by the African American Marketing Association. Each week, we'll bring you an insightful conversation from some of the best experts in our industry on how to advance our career. Join the collective of Black marketers across the world, advancing their brand as we work towards creating a collaborative community.
What's going on, everybody? It's your homie CL Palmer, aka CL Pod Gang, producer extraordinaire of the Marketing for the Culture podcast, with a quick programming note. Unfortunately, we lost one of our episodes, so had a little technical difficulties. Things happen, and our very own Michelle Ngome was away at Content Marketing World giving a stellar presentation, and we were just unable to put together a fresh new episode, but we didn't want to leave you guys hanging. So we took some clips from some of our favorite episodes we've done so far and to highlight a few of our guests. You know, we couldn't fit everybody in one podcast, but everyone who's come on the podcast, very much appreciate your time, and we look forward to everyone who will be coming on in the future. Of course, we will be coming back at you next week, recapping Content Marketing World and discussing a few other things. But don't want to belabor it any longer. Let's get right into the podcast. I'll see y'all on the other side.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Marketing for the Culture podcast, powered by the African American Marketing Association. I am Michelle Ngome, and today's special guest is Daria Fennell. She is an entertainment publicist that has been in the game for over 20 years, and she has worked with some of our favorite people and brands. Daria, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
I'm good, Michelle, and I'm Daria Fennell, and I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah. So how did you get started in entertainment PR?
Actually, it's interesting. I was an official entertainment publicist my sophomore year at the University of Maryland at College Park. I am completely 100% self-taught. And so I wrote a press release for one of my student Black Women's Council organizations on campus meetings. And one of our really popular DJs in the DC area came, and I was like, to our meeting, and I was like, oh, that's cool. Okay. And then my friend Sophia, I will never forget this, Michelle, as long as I live. So my friend Sophia was like, why don't you go out for C Productions and Student Entertainment Enterprises Productions? We did all of the celebrities that came to campus, 100% student run, and we negotiated contracts. They would work and do the staging and swap it out and do PR, marketing. So I became the publicist my sophomore year in Maryland. And I worked with everybody, literally, my sophomore year. I was an official entertainment publicist. So whoever came to campus, I did their on-campus press. So for me, that included Wu-Tang Clan, Run DMC, G-Love and Special Sauce. They were a cute little white boy alternative band, real cool. Dr. Lenise Bias, the late great Maryland star, Lynn Bias's mom, came with like a motivating word. She was incredible. And then I also did PR for on campus, our big time at the time sports columnist Tony Kornheiser. So I was like, oh, I like this. Like I had always grown up, my family, we love music. Michelle, my uncle John used to play sax for Millie Jackson. Like our family is diehard music, diehard popular culture. And I've been writing since I was 10 years old. I'm 100% self-taught. I didn't go to school for PR. Didn't go to school for journalism. My degree is in Afro-American Studies with a minor in film and theater. So I just loved it. And that's where I am today, like running CEO, Director of PR and Brand Strategy and Celebrity Entertainment Journalist, the Daria Fennell Media Group. And I love it. I love it.
So what do you do, or how do you work with your clients today?
Well, since beginning at Maryland, I placed clients on the PR side, Forbes Magazine, the Washington Post, XM Radio, the New York Amsterdam News. And then as a celebrity journalist, Michelle, I've interviewed Taraji P. Henson, my fellow DC native, John Legend, Anthony Hamilton, Ron Fest, Leela James, on and on and on and on. So I love it. It's like whether I'm doing publicity or, as publicist or entertainment publicist, or I'm working as celebrity journalist, like I love both of them. It just depends on, what my client needs. Or am I writing for a media outlet, or am I just doing PR? I just got rehired today by my 2021 Pan-African Film Festival nominee. Thank you. They got distribution from Netflix, in part to my publicity I got for them earlier in the year. So two of my clients, a brother and sister, are the writer and director and lead actress. They're out of Johannesburg, South Africa. And my other client is out of LA. So I'm really excited about that. I start working with them on their Netflix launch July 23rd tomorrow. So yeah, thank you, Michelle. I'm excited.
Congratulations. I caught you just in time in that little window.
Yes. You got a little, insider scoop.
Squeeze this interview in. That's great. And so congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Oh, and see, I told y'all she's worked with our favorite brands. Okay. Favorite people, our favorite brands. So
yes.
So, okay. There's so many angles I want to go.
Okay.
Similar to you, I kind of fell into the entertainment publicist realm when I was young. And, I always say marketing is so broad, and then you have PR, advertising, journalism. There's like thin lines between each sector because we're working together, we're writing or something like that.
We're definitely overlapping always, right? Yeah. But some people don't understand that they're all different functions. Branding is the total umbrella, top of the umbrella, and then everything else, PR, marketing, advertising, that falls underneath.
Yeah, so I love it. Very well put. I feel like PR doesn't get enough credit.
No, we don't.
People want the end result, right? They want the red carpet. They want their name in Forbes, all that kind of stuff. So when is the right time, or what should one consider when it comes to hiring a publicist?
Great question, Michelle. I don't think PR gets our proper respect because at the end of the day, all these lights and light bulbs and flashlights and all of that, if they don't know your story, people don't really, people like to know your story. And that's where PR and publicity comes in and why it's so important. I also tell people with a company, Michelle, or a business, or if they're an actor or what have you, what's the point of having, doing all these amazing projects and nobody knows about it? Social media is important, but Michelle, I will be 50 in 2 years, right? So I didn't grow up on social media. Like, social media is just the 2021 version of word of mouth. That's all it is. It's cool, to be on these different stages on Clubhouse and all of that. But if no one knows who you are and how you got started, it doesn't really matter. People love your story. And I think that's what makes people stand out. They don't realize it. But your story is unique to each person. And why you're interested in what you're interested in is totally different for each person. So what I would say for somebody who needs to hire a publicist, one, do you need a publicist yet? Have you built your brand to the point that you need a publicist? And that depends on a few things. Are you being visible? Is your brand scaling? What are you specifically doing that's standing out? Because the journalists don't want just any fluff. They want actual concrete indicators of your success. Even if you're, like a Black-owned business that maybe has now gone to like the Fortune 100, like that's a big deal. Journalists want a good story, right? So it's like you have to bring a good story, tell them why, they should care about you. And then once you can answer that, then I think it's time to hire a publicist.
You said something very interesting to me. You said, is your brand scaling? So how can we determine that?
Some people, I guess just a quick example of that, Michelle, that's a great question, would be that you started doing products out of your house and now you've moved into an actual space, like a small warehouse. So yeah, your product's obviously, scaling then, you know what I mean? So But in terms of music artists, it's a little different. It's not as concrete and visible as that, right? Maybe you put out an EP in 2017 that made some traction. Maybe, you got a few write-ups, but maybe you, in the meantime, from 2017, Michelle, now it's 2021 and you just got signed to a major label. That's scaling, right? So it's like, it just depends. Yeah, it just depends on the business, Michelle, or the artist, or what kind of artist it is. But everybody scales in their own way. And I guess the more important thing is, like I said, and like I always say, is to have that unique story. That's what the journalist is really interested in. They're not interested in all the fluff pieces. They're interested in why you do what you do and why do you love doing it. And I think that's the point of hiring a publicist, to get that story out in the media so people can support you and, of course, purchase your products or come to your shows, etc.
I feel like I'm a student. I'm just going to say marketing and branding and, practicing reading, hiring, and learning from my graphic designers, which I think should be the first question. Why should someone avoid Fiverr? Why? What is the reason why someone should not go cheap when it comes to getting a logo and design work?
I think that if you're starting to, so a value should be put on something, but let's spread that out into other aspects to try to see if I can land this metaphor. So if you're looking to buy, a new cell phone, are you looking at the cheapest thing you can find? Or are you looking at the best thing you can find for what you can afford, right? Those are two completely different conversations.
Okay.
So you want, obviously everyone's got a budget and everyone's got limitations of what they can spend, but the lowest common denominator, the cheapest thing you can do, is not always going to be the best. The first things you should be looking for are, can you find a designer that you can have a conversation with? So I don't know that that's available through Fiverr. I'm sure there are plenty of great designers that have been told that's the way in to build a reputation, to garner some clients, get some networking done via Fiverr because of the low entry point of cost. And then hopefully you can grow your business that way, start raising your prices, that sort of thing, right? But the end result of what you should be delivering is, or what you should be looking for if you're seeking a designer, is not only design quality, but communication quality. So someone's that's going to be able to listen to your story, regurgitate your story, understand your story, and then illustrate your story. And someone that also, here's another unique little twist, someone who understands that the logo they're designing technically isn't for you, it's for your audience. So, that level of communication, I don't know that that's available via Fiverr.
Very well put. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to give, what's really interesting about Dave and I really appreciate his and insight and wisdom, all seriousness. So I think you should go to Fiverr if you have no idea what you're doing and you don't have a lot of money, or if you know exactly what you're doing and you're willing to be patient enough to direct somebody to do exactly what you want. My clients tell me that the biggest problem that they face with Fiverr is that there's no the cultural interpretation is just awful. Like, they can't get people to really understand the things that they want to represent, the stories they want to tell. And I think that a lot of the clients that we get, it's almost better when they have had experiences with places like Fiverr, because now they're at that point where they understand the difference between talking to somebody across the world in like a small box, trying to get a really intricate design done, and talking to somebody who has this level of experience and service and care and empathy that you're just not going to get for $5.
I love it. On top of that, what's your take when it comes to these I guess, design contests, like 99 designs, things of the nature. And once you answer that, I'll tell you the reason as far as the direction I'm heading.
I think there's a crowd for that. I'm never going to knock anyone's hustle or business model. I don't always think the best way to develop a long-term relationship is contest. You can think about it as dating. We've seen The Bachelor, right? And The Bachelorette. So we know how those things go. So, I mean, they're good if you want to get something done quickly, if you want to have multiple people like work out an idea, but I always feel like it's really better to work with somebody, give them a fair chance to create all the that is based on the research that you have provided them, and then work together to build a relationship. I think that's the better route, at least from my experience. What about you, Dave?
I will gladly knock that business model. I feel like we're one of those ESPN arguing shows or CNN where you're Republican, we're just back and forth yelling at each other. So that particular business model, what I don't like is how many designers that are going to be out there busting their chops for literally no reason. And the idea that, you can just write a list of what you want, throw it out in the world, and a designer will see that list and create exactly what you want. I think that there just needs to be deeper conversation than that. I've done a lot of logos in my day, and every logo that went off the rails, which isn't many, by the way, every logo that's gone off the rails went off the rails because of lack of communication. So yeah, I just think contests are manipulative, and they take advantage of younger designers who are desperate to fill their portfolio, desperate to make a name for themselves and want the experience. But we've all heard the joke, my landlord's not going to take experience the first of the month. So now that said, I gave away design early in the day because I was desperate to get a portfolio done. So maybe I'm still harboring some bitterness from that's just what I see when I think of contests because of my own experiences early on as a, youngster out the gate. But yeah, contests just really irk me whenever I see it. I always think, well, why didn't you just call the best 3 designers in your town and talk to them and then maybe pay them a little for a pitch? Every designer, you pick 3 to 5, everybody gets paid a little bit to pitch their idea, and then you pick one, and then that's who you go with. So they're not wasting their time.
That's a more sophisticated approach, and most people who are entrepreneurs entering design for the first time have no idea how to get to that level of sophistication. They are just because this is a capitalistic society that has grown from free labor. They're always for the cheapest, quickest, and they really don't care. I do hate the fact that it feels like it commoditizes, I hope I said that right, the individual, because it's like, I have this job and I don't really care about the relationship. And I think that's a detriment to everyone.
Trying to push in people's inboxes. And if you say you're about a body positivity movement, but you're pushing weight loss gummies, how is that tying into your brand? That is not authentic. You're not telling a real story. You're telling a representative of your story. But if you are, say, for example, someone who is body positive and you post a picture of you in a bikini from, say, Gabby Fresh Swimsuit for All line, that's more tied into your brand. That is something your followers will feel like they can relate to because they see themselves. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. And I mean, those are things that I've definitely struggled in as far as the storytelling aspect of it. And my friends, my true friends, so like, Michelle, you got to speak up. You have a testimony. And I'm like, girl, this is every day. And they're like, no, someone needs to hear this. Mm-hmm. So that's what I'm working on now, and really getting outside of the business because people know me for business and marketing and trying to show a softer side, a personal side.
Mm-hmm. And it can be done. Like what I post on Pink Doll Style, my personal Instagram, I do not post on Pink Doll House Marketing, you know? And also too, I have, each platform has their own voice. On Twitter, I even put in my bio one time, I love reality TV. So you're going to get a mix of tweets about reality TV and also marketing at the same time. But on my personal Instagram, I'll, post things like stories about me and my mom going on walks or, hitting the walking trails or different things and activations I love to attend. I'm not going to give you a bunch of marketing speak on my personal platform because y'all not there for that. But on Pink Doll House Marketing Instagram, you are there for that. So it's just making sure your content fits the audience you're looking to reach out to.
Yeah, thank you. I'm getting there. This is, for me, this is perfect timing. So thank you. I have work to do tonight.
It's a marathon, not a race, Michelle. It's fine.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So one thing that you pride yourself on, and I wish I heard this message years ago, is being I call it a sidepreneur, right? Do you feel like your job respects it, or you're lucky, or like, how do you feel about the balance of 9 to 5 and then 5 to 9?
Well, it does have its challenges. There are some days, like I told you before we got on this call, I was taking a nap because I needed a nap. There's some days where I'm working a 10-hour day at work and then I'll hop on to my computer from 7 to 11 o'clock at night or spend a whole day on my weekends working on tasks. But at the same time, I feel fulfilled in doing that. And honestly, I really don't talk to my job a lot about what I'm doing because when I'm there at my 9 to 5, I'm there for my 9 to 5. Who I am outside of work, no offense, is none of your business. But as long as I show up professionally on a daily basis, you cannot say my work is slipping due to my other interests outside of work.
I agree with you. Any advice on how creatives should approach that? Whether they're looking for a job or maybe they're currently struggling with the job they have now?
Yeah. So when I was doing my interview for my current role, I actually mentioned that I own my own business during the interview and how that could be an asset to my company based on the connections that I have. So based on my own personal connections, I mentioned that I could bring in certain graphic designers. I have relationships with influencers. So really really market and promote it as a benefit and an asset to your company of additional skills they may not have looked at in a traditional sense of what value is that you can bring to the role and to the table.
That is really good because I haven't heard of it before, haven't thought of it. I'm sure I've done it, but I think that's really good advice. And I also think just presenting that information with confidence as well helps. So if you have your business, stand by your business. Don't be timid, but speak up confidently and show how your business, your personal brand can be an asset to the organization.
Yes, just don't use your computer at work, y'all. Please just buy a computer because IT is watching. Okay, they know your keystrokes and everything. If they know you are on your personal website or Instagram all day long posting, that gets a trip to HR. We don't want that.
Do you feel like like keeping it all the way real on the Marketing podcast? I know for me back in the day, I feel like it was all or nothing. I didn't hear the messages of sidepreneurship and all that kind of stuff. And I felt like those times when I did have my 9 to 5, I felt like I was missing opportunities. Like I couldn't, it's like, God, I can't go. Or, only have these 10 PTO days.
Yeah, I remember that.
I have 10 PTO days out of, we'll say 365. I don't know how many working days, but you know what I mean?
Yes.
So any advice on navigating that?
Yeah. So one thing that I do is I actually don't do a bunch of trips throughout the year for Pink Doll House. I focus on maybe 1 or 2 things I really want to go to that's outside of the area, So that way, if I have to use my PTO, I'm using it strategically and I'm not just burning up my PTO. and also making sure that their events are going to bring me return on investment. A lot of times when you're doing these trips, you're spending your own money or your business money. What are you getting out of this? Is this just a day party you're going to just to post on the gram? Are you actually going to meet clients, to make connections, and then do follow-up emails, schedule them out? If you have Gmail, I love Gmail for this, but schedule them out, those follow-ups, so you can start those conversations about business. So that way it's not a waste of your personal time and your PTO. Second thing, I make sure that whatever I do for Pink Dollhouse, I do schedule those emails out. I make a schedule for myself. I call my second shift. So from either 6 to 9 or 7 to 11, 3 days out of the week. And from 6 a.m. to 12 noon, so I can make it to brunch, on the weekends, I work on Pink Dollhouse only.
Wow. Yeah. Okay.
You know what Nipsey Hussle said? Hustle and motivate, you know?
I'm over here trying to like, what time do I go to sleep?
Well, I do. I go to bed earlier now too. I even changed my hours at work once we started transitioning back into the office. So I was the first one in already. I now get in earlier so I can leave earlier. Wow. And then that way I could take a personal break at home, pop open my laptop and start working on my business. I'm also very upfront with my clients about this as well. So when they're hitting me up during the day, they know that they may not get a response till later that evening. Or if they're texting me, they know that my response may be sporadic, but I will get to them.
Discipline. Do you see yourself going into full-time entrepreneurship?
You know, that is something that I am working towards. Unfortunately, as a Black woman, it takes a lot more steps for us to get there. So for me, I want to build myself to having Pink Dollhouse, not as just my backup plan, but my only plan. Mm-hmm. By the time I would say I'm 40 or in my early 40s.
Okay.
And I'm 34 right now. Oh, wait, I'll be 34 next month. Hey, Cancer season.
Once again, digital marketing for results. So with that being said, do you think traditional marketing is still important?
So I think traditional marketing is still important based on the type of business you have. Okay. So for example, there's a lot of companies that like maybe like a sports team or large organizations are trying to get a huge awareness. You got billboards, you know, it's like you got like you're driving around and you might not be able to track billboards as effectively as online ads, but guess what? You know for sure that X amount of cars are going to drive by the highway. And then that's going to be a huge awareness. If you have a upcoming game or a huge product you're trying to push, or just like if you're a big brand, like let's say McDonald's, they don't really care much about getting clicks to their website, but they care about awareness. So if you're trying to get a huge amount of awareness, traditionally like commercials on Super Bowl, radio ads, TV ads, billboards, it's still beneficial, you know. But and so what I've been seeing is a lot of companies they're doing the traditional, but also they're still realizing that hey, now we really have to take this digital seriously because most of our audience is on digital. So yeah, definitely. So I think it's not completely out, but you got to realize where you're at in the business, because there was a time where everybody used yellow books. Like, you know, remember that, you know, you're like, we'll get a yellow book. I think it was in front of our house. Yeah. And then all of a sudden everything went to digital. So yeah, you definitely got to keep up, you know, because some people are like, it does even the newspapers, they realize how important it is because they realize that, hey, instead of us just offering advertisements in the newspapers, now we have to advertise on the internet. So right. We're both in Houston Chronicle, as you know, they're pretty big as far as putting ads on their website because they understand a while ago that, hey, newspaper is kind of faded out. We need to go to digital. So you're going to see people doing both, mixture of both.
Right. It seems like every industry has to have a digital marketing expertise component, right? I don't care if you're an engineering company, architecture firm, whatever. So how do you help organizations as well as individuals that are listening identify what they should be selling?
So what they should be selling, as far as if you're in their organization, think about what you're trying to sell. So I would always recommend think about what is easy for you to sell and what customers actually have the budget to buy your services. Because we might have a passion, but sometimes our passion isn't really a business, right? So think about one, what are people willing to buy from you? What do they need? And also think about who is easy for you to work with. Because sometimes we can make money, but the problem is we hate the clients. It's like we just don't like work with these customers. So it's like, think about out of all your type of businesses, like it kind of, I went through this too. But if you're out there and you're starting a business, think about out of all the people you've worked with in the past, who do you like working with the most? And what do they like to buy from you the most as well? And maybe you should narrow down and focus on that instead of just trying to sell everything to everybody. Figure out, okay, who do you like working with? And also who would buy from you? And do they have the budget? So think of it, that's what I would recommend as far as like selling.
I definitely think that's hard, whether you're a solopreneur or even a new company, right? Because it's like you're trying to take a client so you have enough money to pay your bills, to meet payroll. And then you look up and like what they call scope creep, like, this is not what I put in the proposal. I'm doing a lot more. And then it's like, is the money worth it? So that's a really good point. So also, regardless of the industry and then the dominance of marketing and social media, like it's highly competitive, right? So what are some tips when it comes to competitive research and trying to put your strategy together?
Yeah. So when it comes to strategy, I think it is highly competitive because the challenge today is the barrier to entry is so low that anybody can do stuff. Like you start a company, your competition starts it, and then they see you posting on social media and then they start posting on social media. So that's one of the major challenges, that it's easy to just set up a Facebook account and start posting. Yeah. So what you want to think about is research ways that your competitors are not on, what they're not doing. So it sounds simple, but it's really effective. Like I've been doing this for a while now, and a lot of the businesses of all sizes that I work with, a lot of times their competitors are not on one channel. So for example, one competitor is extremely good at social, but they're not doing any email marketing. Mm-hmm. So one channel is extremely good at advertising online, but they're not doing any social. Mm-hmm. It's like, or one company is really doing good on Instagram, but they're nowhere to be found on Google. So like that's one thing that you can still do, even if there's a lot of competition. And a lot of this depends on the industry too. So I've seen a lot of industries, some industries are really good when it comes to SEO, but they're not really good when it comes to social. So in your industry, no matter what level you're at, think about what is your competitor not doing and how can you take advantage of that? And also see what they're doing and see how you can kind of change that into how you can fit your own organization. Because it's interesting because I work with like these large brands and they struggle with like social. They struggle with all these areas, but they might be good at a different area that their competitors not working on.
Thank you for listening to Marketing for the Culture podcast. If you haven't already, please subscribe, whether it's on Apple, Google, Spotify, or your favorite podcast platform. And of course, our videos are on YouTube. If you have a moment, feel free to give us a rate, review, or just comment. We appreciate our sponsors for their continuous support. Also, if you're interested in learning more about our sponsors or becoming a member of the African American Marketing Association, visit aa-ma.org.